Welcome to another interesting topic on social linguistics, language variations. Language varies according to its uses, as well as its users, according to where it is used and to whom, as well as according to who is using it. The addresses and the context affect our choice of code or variety, whether language, dialect, or style. All languages exhibit internal variation. That is, each language exists in a number of varieties and is in one sense the sum of those varieties. But what do we mean by variety? Hudson, 1996, defines a variety of language as a set of linguistic items with similar distribution. In social linguistics, language variety, also called lect, is a general term for any distinctive form of language or linguistic expression. Linguists commonly use language variety or simply variety as a cover term for any of the overlapping subcategories of a language, including dialect, style, register, and jargon. In this video, we will discuss about language varieties and the distinctive features of the terminologies style, register, and beliefs. These three words are used by both linguists and laypersons. That means that the way linguists use them is often quite different than the way the average bear uses them. Before we dive in, let's talk about linguistic style. Everything that is said must be said in a certain way, in a certain tone of voice, a certain rate of speed, and with certain degree of loudness. Whereas often consciously consider what to say before speaking, we rarely think about how to say it unless the situation is obviously loaded. For example, a job interview or a tricky performance review. What is linguistic style? One social linguistics definition of style is varieties of language viewed from the point of view of formality, by Gill, 1992. According to Wardhoe and Fuller, 2015, language style relates with our choice to communicate, such as speak very formally or very informally, which influenced by the circumstances. It means that the way to communicate used by speaker affected by the situation and condition. A style is not a social dialect or original dialect, but a variety of language used for a specific purpose. Style is personal. Style in social roles include expected behavior associated with a particular status. It is more flexible than status and varies according to the speech situation. Linguistic style refers to a person's characteristics and speaking pattern. It includes such features as directness or indirectness, pacing and pausing, word choice, and the use of such elements as jokes, figures of speech, stories, questions, and apologies. In other words, linguistic style is a set of culturally learned signals by which we not only communicate what we mean, but also interpret others' meaning and evaluate one another as people. The most useful categorization of the style from a language teacher's point of view are arguably those suggested by Juice in 1961. Number 1, the frozen style or the oratorical is the most formal language style that used by people in public speaking, in which the words are carefully planned before, such as the document of a history or law, the Pledge of Allegiance, the Lord's Prayer, or the preamble of the Constitution. The wording remains unchanged in this style. Often, this style is written, but it does not occur in spoken language less commonly. Let's watch this video.
We, the sovereign Filipino people, imploring the aid of Almighty God in order to build a just and humane society and establish a government that shall embody our ideals and aspirations, promote the common good, conserve and develop our patrimony, and secure to ourselves and our posterity the blessings of independence.
Number 2, the formal style or the deliberative, which used in addressing audiences, and the forms are not as refined as oratorical. For example, lecturing in the university classroom, public speaking, and interviews. Let's watch this.
Education, then, beyond all other devices of human origin, is a great equalizer of the conditions of men. Horace Mann, 1848. At the time of his remarks, I couldn't read, I couldn't write. Any attempt to do so, punishable by death. For generations, we have known of knowledge's infinite power, yet somehow we have never questioned the keeper of the keys.
Number 3, the consultative style is a kind of dialogue in which the language is formal enough and the words are chosen with some care, such as language that used in business transactions, doctor-patient conversation, lawyer-judge, and student-teacher. It allows for two-way communication, but shared knowledge is not essential. Let's watch
My name's
this.
Vinod Patel. I'm one of the GP registrars here. So I'm just going to find out a little bit about the problem that you've come in with. Would that be all right?
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
Just
Yeah.
going to make some notes, and basically, this will just help me write it up onto the computer later on.
Okay.
So, just in your own words, tell me what's brought you in today.
Number 4, the casual style, which is conversation between friends, colleagues, or sometimes family members, slangs, and abbreviations. It is characterized by lots of slang and some in group language, plenty of interruption, and a good deal of assumed knowledge, so as lot can be left out or left unsaid. Let's watch this.
Well, I did my best to convince him that I'm not some crazy girl who is dying to get married. And I'm just going through a hard time.
What'd he say?
Well, his answering machine was very understanding.
Number 5, the intimate style, which used to talk with family, loved ones, and very close friends, or private conversations. It is characterized by a good deal of non-verbal communication and some private vocabulary. It is not commonly adopted in public domain. There are factors that influence language style. It can be stated such as economic, personality, social class, age, origin, profession, and the closeness of the participants who speaks, with whom we speak, what we talk about, where, when, and how it takes place are able to affect the language style that used by people, which called as context. Consider turn taking. One element of linguistic style is conversation. Is an enterprise in which people take turns. One person speaks, then the other responds. However, this apparently simple exchange requires a subtle negotiation of signals so that you know when the other person is finished and it's your turn to begin. Cultural factors such as country or region of origin and the ethnic backgrounds influence how long a pause seems natural. If you say, I would be honored if you would sit down, you are signaling great respect or great sarcasm, depending on your tone of voice, the situation, and what you both know about how close you really are. If you say, you must be so tired, why don't you sit down? You are communicating either closeness and concern of condescension. Each of these ways of saying the same thing, telling someone to sit down, can have a vastly different meaning. Every utterance functions on two levels. We're all familiar with the first one, Language communicates ideas. The second level is mostly invisible to us, but it plays a powerful role in communication. As a form of social behavior, language also negotiates relationship. Through ways of speaking, we signal and create the relative status of speakers and their level of rapport. If you say, sit down, you are signaling that you have the highest status than the person you're addressing, that you are so close to each other that you can drop all the pleasantries or that you are angry. Now let's talk about language register. What is language register? Language register is also called linguistic register and speech register. In the Dictionary of Linguistics and Phonetics, Crystal 1991 defines register as a variety of language defined according to its use in social situations. Example, the register of scientific, religious, formal English. Register is widely used in linguistics to refer to varieties according to use. This is in contrast to a dialect, which is defined as the varieties according to user. Wardho in 2005 defines this term register as a set of language items related with discrete, occupational, or social group. By using register, people can express their identity at a specific time or place. The term register was first used by linguist Thomas Bertram Reed in 1956 and brought into general currency in the 1960s by a group of linguists who wanted to distinguish among variations in language. The focus is on the way language is used in particular situations, such as legalese or motherese, the language of a biology research lab, or a news report, or the bedroom. We can say that saying jargon is an alternative term for register that is sometimes used for this kind of language, as in terms used by surgeons, airplane captions, bank managers, sales clerks, or jazz fans. As Ferguson 1994 states, people participating in recurrent communication situations tend to develop similar vocabularies, similar features of intonation and characteristics, a bit of syntax and phonology in these situations. About distinctive terms of register. Number 1, jargon. It implies the use of specific words. Jargon, however, refers to a specialized vocabulary characterizing the language use of various groups of people, often occupational or recreational groups. Example, medical jargons or law or the legal jargon. The specialized words and expressions of a particular jargon may be incomprehensible to outsiders. This is why we can't find dictionaries which translate such words into more common words. The internet provides such dictionaries, for example, for the medical and the legal jargon. In contrast to slang, jargon is not restricted to situations of extreme informality and generally lacks the rebellious undertones connected to the use of slang expressions. Slang. It refers to a non-standard words that are known and used by a certain group of people. For example, in a group of teenagers, a group of college students, a group of jazz players, etc. Slang is usually created arbitrarily. For example, the word money has some slang words such as cabbage or dough. Sometimes slang words are more alive. More words of cemetery is homeyard. The slang word for clerk is pencil crusher. And the slang words for women who like men only because of their money are money mad or gold diggers. Conveyance of the language register involves complex nuanced linguist variation that differs from language to language and within dialects of the same language. They are determined by such factors as social occasions, the context, the purpose, and the audience. Registers are marked by a variety of specialized vocabulary and turns of phrases, colloquialisms, the use of jargons, and the difference in the intonation and pace. In general, language register is all about content. It is usually measured on a formality scale and includes features such as vocabulary and grammar. The way we talk depends on who we're talking to. Register has a lot to do with the relationship to the person or person you're talking to. The closer your relationship, the less formal your register. The more distant your relationship, the more formal the language. Now let's talk about language belief. Belief is a system of ideas or ideology. Some people believe that a certain language lacks grammar. We can speak English without accent. The representation of belief can operate the interest of an undefinable social class or cultural group. This tendency will create language behavior and attitude by several group of people act or behave toward language differently. Many people and even cultures have strong beliefs about language learning. When you hear someone say that children learn languages easily and naturally, or that women are better language learners than men, they are expressing common but not necessarily correct beliefs about language learning.
No, you don't want to say that word, though. We don't want to say that word because that's a bad word. No. Tadpole. Can you say tadpole? Mad roll. Don't say. No, Jack's mole. Because Jack has a big mole on his face.
It is through language that beliefs are usually expressed and communicated. In order to serve these purposes, flexible language must in each culture be adopted to the beliefs dominant in that culture. One consequence of this is that the vocabulary and morphology of the language will often codify concepts and beliefs important and useful in the culture connected with the language. Language will, in a sense, act as storage for those concepts and views which have been important in the historical development of the particular culture. The existence of different varieties is interesting in still another respect. While each of us may have productive control over only a very few varieties of language, we can usually comprehend many more varieties and relate all of this to the concept of a single language. This is Desiree S. Romo. Thank you for watching.